All right, Stephen, lots of differences between the federal case and the state case. You heard Julia mention one of them. They're trying to keep some of the emotion out of this federal case. Emotion was a huge part of that state case. Is that going to be a problem for the federal government?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you never really want to play on sympathy. There's even a jury instruction that says that the juror should not take sympathy into consideration when rendering their verdicts. I think what's going on here is the fact that the prosecution has to show deliberate indifference to a medical need. And so the fact of the matter is the Stowe clerk, if the Stowe clerk could see that something was wrong with Floyd, and the independent witnesses could see that he was suffering from breathing, he was asking for medical help, and they deliberately failed to provide that medical help, then they could be found responsible. And so I think taking sympathy out the way, it's a good move, because here we just want to know, was there deliberate indifference to a known medical need? And if bystanders know it, why didn't the officers know it?
All right, now I'm going to throw this out there to you, the idea that at least Officer Lane, from very early on in this encounter with George Floyd, noticed that there was, I believe, a cut lip or some kind of cut on his face. So he did call the paramedics. I remember from the state trial, and I'm sure it'll come up in the federal trial, that there was some delay in the paramedics getting there. They made a second call, making it an emergency call as things escalated at the scene there. How do you think that plays into this idea that there was this willfulness or deliberate denying of medical aid?
Well, I think it's to Officer Wayne. It actually helps him out because he did try to at least get help. I believe that at least twice he asked whether Floyd should be rolled over on his side. So it's really going to get into their protocol, their practices, their training in order to determine what was justified under the circumstances. So out of the three officers, I think Lane is the least culpable because at least he tried to follow procedures. So maybe his actions weren't deliberate. But I think it's to the other two officers who did nothing, they're the ones that are in big trouble.
Yeah, but it can be argued there, Stephen, that perhaps they had knowledge that the medics had been called. And that's why they were sort of taking a step back. But I think they still had some sort of duty to render some sort of aid to him. But going even further, this idea of willfulness, of denying him his civil rights, that they have to intervene when they see his rights being violated by Chauvin. There's unwritten rules, right, with police, right? You have the superior officer on the scene who is Chauvin. You have a couple of really sort of younger officers. I think Lane was just very shortly on the job. King had just a little bit more time on the job. I know that Tao had a few more years. I think he was an 11-year vet. But at the end of the day, Chauvin was the superior officer on the scene, a training officer. Unwritten rule: you don't interfere with officers. You don't interfere with superior officers. How does the defense get that across to this jury? Because there is, in fact, a duty for them to intervene.
I mean, I think you're absolutely right, Michael. There is a duty to intervene. Are you going to go with cold blue or are you going to go with cold true? Meaning that at some point in time, you're dealing with a human life here. And so if they need to question the superior officer as to what he's doing, I think that's the steps that they should have taken. And the fact that they failed to intervene here shows that they should be held accountable. But we'll see what the jury is going to do, because oftentimes I have cases like this and officers turn their heads and say, I didn't even see the shots. Well, you're 3 feet away. How could you not see the shots? So it's a code blue, but we want the code true, and we want officers standing up and being accountable, even if it means holding your superior accountable. And that's what the law says.
Fair enough. And, one of the arguments you just made about not seeing the shots, that's kind of Tao's claim. He's saying, I was over here dealing with the crowd. I didn't see what was going on. And the state is arguing, and they showed some pictures to this jury in their opening statements showing him looking directly at what was going on. So, again, just because he didn't touch him or wasn't next to him, he still could face liability in this case. All right.